So now I'm going to mix some, I'm going to do sap green. Okay, so I'll go ahead and just do a layer of green on these leaves. That yellow underneath is going to make it just a bit more warm and radiant. A little more water. Gonna drop a little bit of dark green in the corners just to give it a little bit more interest and life. I feel like when you see that contrast of some spots that are a little bit light, some spots that are a little bit more dark, I think it gives it more dimension and interest. So I'll go and do the same over here on this side. Okay, so for underneath this back leaf, to create that look of a turning leaf. Okay, so I'm gonna draw just along the edge. So I'm gonna create like a little bit of a shadow so that it kind of creates like a little bit of a fold in that leaf. And then just with a wet damp brush, I'm just gonna pull it along the line without touching over here, because then it'll kind of make that line, that sharp edge kind of muddy. But let me try that again. I'm going to drop a little bit more color here. So now I'm going to drop a little bit of green up here in the leaves that are wrapping the bud. All right, so I like that. I'm going to drop just a bit more of a green, the darker green, into the bottoms of the leaves, creating dimension, creating form, just by messing with light and dark values. That's how it's done. Okay, I'll paint these yellow leaves with a darker green to kind of match over here. All right, so now I'm going to do this stem. I think I'm going to make my stem nice and light, and I'll make one side of the stem a little bit darker later so that it looks like it's a cylinder shape. But for now, we'll just do a solid layer of green, light green. I believe I mentioned, I did, yeah. I'm using sap green here. One thing I always forget to do when I'm getting my palette prepared, because I kind of add colors as I go, and once I run out of a color, I'll replace it with something. And I'm really bad about remembering which colors I put down. So there's a few on here that I am not gonna lie to you, I don't know what color. I don't know what color they are. And sometimes the colors I use, sometimes I have like several tubes that are very similar, and I don't know. I should be better about paying attention to that kind of thing, because it matters to some people. For me, I think a lot of it is not, I don't know. There's some colors I know I love and use a lot. And then sometimes I feel like I can kind of make do with just whatever colors I have, because I do a lot of mixing. And if I have I want kind of a warm green color, but I just have cool green, I'll mix it with a little bit of yellow. Or if I want like a cooler green and I just have a warm green, I'll mix it with a little bit of blue. So I can always make do as long as I have just, some basic primaries. But it is fun to have a lot of colors. I think this palette I have like 23 on here. All right, so let's go back up to the top here. I'm going to just smooth out some of these lines, because the water, the way that the water dried, it kind of created those I call them hard water lines. And I like my paintings, if I'm doing a more detailed painting, which this one hopefully will be a little more on the detailed side, I don't like hard water lines. I like it all to be really smooth, nice smooth gradients. Okay, so I'm going to use, I think I'll use some alizarin crimson, kind of create a nice pink color. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go along the edges of these leaves very lightly. Also, I didn't even talk about it. This is a size 3 Series 7 watercolor brush from Winsor & Newton. And I love it because I can hold a ton of water in it, but it also comes to a very nice fine point at the end, so I can also do fine details like I'm doing here. All right, cleaning off that brush, I'm just going to pull some of that red down just a bit, so we have a nice gradient in some spots. Very nice. Okay, so I'm going to take a little bit more sap green, and I'm going to go along the bottom of these leaves so that I'm creating a bit more of a sphere, creating a gradient that makes more of a shadow so it looks like it's round. So kind of lifting out some of that color and blotting it here on my napkin or my towel, which I love using. I've been using the cotton terry cloth towel to blot with, and I love it. So a little bit more green, using a really strong mixture here. Do the same technique on this edge. I'm going to grab, actually I'll do more of the green. And now that my stem is nice and dry, I'm going to go along this edge. Using damp brush, I'm going to just rub my brush along that edge and then create that round shape. Going to, let's see here, what should I do? I'm going to draw a line here along this leaf and another line here. And I'll do the same thing in this leaf. Awkward angle here. Gotta find a place to rest your hand where your paper isn't wet. Go. So doing that same technique I did earlier, just kind of rubbing out that bottom edge so that we have a nice shadow look. All right, that's gonna work for now. Actually, I lied. All right, so I'm going to drop a little bit more paint underneath the bud, creating like a shadow look so that it looks like, you know, there's something sitting right up here above it, right above the base of that stem. Watercolor always dries lighter than you expect, so I'm going to use just a little bit more paint than I think I need. Okay, and a little bit more along these edges. All right, so now time to do the peony itself. So I'm going to do a mixture of, let me pull it into frame so you can see here. So I'll do a bit of that Shealeen yellow, just right here. And I'll grab a little bit of alizarin crimson. And in this little square inch of space, I'm gonna mix a nice kind of peachy color. Right, move this pencil. Okay, so I'm gonna just go ahead and drop it in this whole section here. And I have the feeling this will dry very light, so I'll let that be for a moment. And then I'm gonna grab some more alizarin crimson. Can't see me, but I'm over here. So grab more alizarin crimson and carefully dropping it into these edges where I think it could use a little bit more of a dark color. And I want to be careful that it doesn't bleed into the petals themselves, or the flower part up here. So just really carefully making sure it's dry. Same technique here. The one drawback to the terry cloth is you can't really get it into a nice tiny point to blot like you can with a paper towel, but that's okay. Oh, I do have a paper towel here. I'll keep that there if I need it. Bit more green, and I'm getting very close to being finished with this. Smooth out that green. So I'm going to do one more line of green along the stem here. Create just a bit more of a strong contrast so it has that kind of pop off the page feel. So the last touch here is I'm going to add some alizarin crimson to the flower part up here. And then I'll smooth that line because it feels like it needs it. I want to create a little bit more dimension up here, so I'm going to use that alizarin crimson pink color to go along the edge, and you'll see that it's going to start looking more round when I do that. I'm going to drop a few speckles on the leaves. And then I'll do one more bit of alizarin crimson right here, where these petals are folding over each other. I can't help myself, sometimes I just want to keep adding some final details and contrasts if I feel like it's not popping the way I want it to. All right, that's feeling good. So there you have it. I hope you enjoyed. This one was super fun to work on. I'll see you next time.